There's someone at your workplace, your gym, or your coffee shop that you barely noticed 3 months ago. But now you find yourself thinking about them constantly. You wonder if they're developing feelings too, or if you're losing your mind. You're not losing your mind. You're experiencing one of psychology's most powerful and underrated forces, the mere exposure effect. And it's been quietly shaping every relationship you've ever had. A groundbreaking study published in early 2026 followed 2,000 participants over 18 months. The findings? 68% of romantic relationships began between people who initially felt zero attraction to each other. What changed their minds wasn't appearance, personality, or charm. It was simple, repeated exposure. The more they saw each other, the more attractive they became to one another, without even realizing it was happening. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this happens, how many times you need to see someone before feelings develop, and how to use this knowledge ethically in your own life. Let's dive in. The mere exposure effect was first documented by psychologist Robert Zajonc in 1968. He discovered something bizarre. People develop preferences for things simply because they're familiar with them. In his original experiments, Zajonc showed participants random Chinese characters. Some characters appeared once. Others appeared up to 25 times. Then he asked people which characters they preferred. The results were stunning. People consistently chose the characters they'd seen most frequently. They didn't know why they preferred them. They just did. Familiarity created preference out of thin air. But here's where it gets interesting for relationships. In 2024, researchers at Stanford expanded this research specifically to romantic attraction. They want to know, does the mere exposure effect work on people too? They set up an experiment where participants attended weekly group activities. Before the first session, everyone rated photos of the other participants on attractiveness. Most ratings were average to below average. After 12 weeks of regular contact, they rated the same people again. The results shocked the research team. Attractiveness ratings jumped an average of 42%. For some individuals, ratings more than doubled. Remember that person you know who's been in a relationship with someone their friends think is just okay? Your friends aren't seeing what your friend sees, because your friend has logged hundreds of hours of exposure. Your brain is essentially being hacked by repetition. And the mechanism is actually quite simple. Every time you encounter something unfamiliar, your brain experiences a tiny spike of stress. Unfamiliar equals potential threat. But as you see that same face again and again, with no negative outcomes, your brain relaxes. The stress response diminishes. Relaxation feels good, and your brain starts associating that person with feeling good. A 2026 study using functional MRI scans revealed something fascinating. When people view faces they've seen repeatedly, their brain's reward centers light up more intensely than for novel faces, even attractive novel faces. This is why you might swipe past someone gorgeous on a dating app without a second thought, but develop intense feelings for your decent-looking study partner. Your study partner has something the dating app person doesn't: repeated exposure. The effect is so powerful that it even works when you're not consciously aware of it. Subliminal exposure, where faces are shown too quickly to consciously register, still increases preference ratings. This means your feelings aren't just developing through conversations and interactions. They're developing simply because you keep seeing someone's face. In meetings, at the gym, in the hallway, your subconscious is keeping score. One of the most cited studies in relationship psychology examined college dormitories in 2023. Researchers tracked who became friends, who dated, and who barely interacted over 4 years. The strongest predictor of relationship formation wasn't shared interests, personality compatibility, or physical attractiveness. It was proximity. People who lived closest together were most likely to become friends or romantic partners. So here's the question everyone wants answered. Exactly how many times do you need to see someone before attraction develops? The research gives us a surprisingly specific answer. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in March 2026 analyzed 47 studies on the mere exposure effect in relationships. They found a clear pattern. The magic number is 7 meaningful encounters. Meaningful is the key word here. Briefly passing someone in a hallway counts less than a 5-minute conversation. A 30-minute coffee date counts for more than 3 hallway passings combined. The research suggests that after 7 substantive interactions, people's attraction ratings plateau. More exposure beyond this point provides diminishing returns. The shift has already happened. This explains so many relationship patterns. Why workplace romances are so common. Why friend groups often become dating pools. Why long-distance relationships struggle. Exposure isn't just important, it's foundational. But there's something crucial we need to address. A study from late 2025 found that 34% of people experience decreased attraction with continued exposure. What's different about them? The answer reveals the dark side of the mere exposure effect. The effect amplifies your initial impression. If someone seems slightly annoying at first, repeated exposure makes them seem more annoying, not less. This is why first impressions still matter. The mere exposure effect isn't magic that creates attraction from nothing. It's an amplifier. It makes neutral or slightly positive impressions more positive, but it makes negative impressions more negative. There's also a saturation point. When exposure becomes excessive, familiarity breeds contempt. This is why couples who spend every waking moment together often experience faster relationship decay. A 2026 study on relationship satisfaction found an optimal exposure range. Couples who spent between 15 and 25 hours together per week reported highest satisfaction. Below 15, too little exposure. Above 30, too much. Mystery and novelty need space to exist. The mere exposure effect works best when there's still something to discover. When someone becomes completely predictable, your brain stops finding them rewarding. This is the paradox of the mere exposure effect in relationships. You need enough exposure to trigger attraction, but not so much that you eliminate the novelty that keeps attraction alive. The effect also diminishes when context changes. Your gym crush might seem less attractive when you see them at a grocery store. The context was part of what your brain was processing as familiar and safe. Understanding this effect isn't about manipulation. It's about awareness. You're already being influenced by it constantly. The question is whether you're making conscious choices or being unconsciously driven. Many people mistake mere exposure attraction for deep compatibility. They think because they feel strongly about someone they see every day, that person must be their soulmate. But it might just be neuroscience. So how do you actually apply this knowledge? First, recognize when you're experiencing it. If your feelings for someone have gradually intensified through proximity alone, that's the mere exposure effect at work. Second, if you're interested in someone, create opportunities for repeated, low-stakes encounters. Join the same gym class. Frequent the same coffee shop. Attend the same social events. Proximity creates possibility. Third, be patient. The effect requires time. Trying to force 7 meaningful interactions in 1 week feels desperate and weird. Spacing them over several weeks or months feels natural and allows the effect to work properly. Fourth, remember that attraction built on mere exposure needs to be validated by deeper compatibility. Initial exposure might open the door, but shared values, communication, and genuine connection determine whether the relationship thrives. And if you're in a long-term relationship experiencing declining attraction, consider whether overexposure is the culprit. The solution isn't more time together. It's strategic separation that allows mystery and appreciation to regenerate. The mere exposure effect isn't destiny. It's not controlling you, but it is influencing you every single day in ways you've probably never consciously recognized until right now. Your relationships, your attractions, your social circle, they've all been shaped by this simple principle. What's familiar becomes preferable. What you see repeatedly becomes what you desire. If this video helped you see your relationships through a new lens, hit that like button and subscribe to the Human Mind Daily for more psychology insights that actually matter in your real life. The next time you find yourself inexplicably drawn to someone you see regularly, you'll know exactly what's happening in your brain, and you'll have the awareness to decide whether to lean into it or not. That's the power of understanding your own psychology.